Alright, hello everyone, Peter here. Here I am, I was kind of on a break right now when it comes to MTG, but Eldraine came out, so what am I gonna do? So I grabbed a exile-based Rocco and Pia deck. That is also kind of a Questing Druid deck. This is a new adventure card from... So the basic theme here, of course, is to play cards from the top of your library, but from exile. Because if you play them from exile, you get 1/1 Thopter tokens with flying that have haste because of Pia's passive. And you also get to create a bunch of food tokens and +1/+1 counters on your creatures. And you also get to even have some card advantage because we have a lower curve and not so many legendaries and stuff like that. That's the theme, which of course makes those two really overstated CMC2 and 3 creature cards. And then at the 1 mana slot, when it comes to this exile and play based theme, is Mishra's Research Desk, which lets you look at the top 2. And then you get to pick one, but you also can unearth it. By the way, if you play like a Steel Seeker, which is pretty nice in this deck, you can also find those desks, which is pretty cute. Which I had originally in the deck, but then I took it out. The upside of the synthesizer is notably that you can also use it for Yotia Declares War, even after you used it, because you used its effect when you have it entering the battlefield. Basically, you get to exile the top card of your library and to play it. Play, notably, is better than cast in general, because you also get to play lands, of course, and then when it leaves the battlefield, you have the same effect, which is really nice, but it also can be triggered by itself by paying 3 mana, and then also having the additional upside of getting a 2/2 Samurai token with a Vigilance. A way to otherwise sacrifice it would be maybe also Brave the Wilds, which can also, for example, get rid of a Pia token or a Rocco food token to get an additional effect in being able to transform a land into a 3/3 creature that also has haste, which I think is pretty good for 1 mana, because the base text says that you get to search your library for a basic land card. So I think you should also be able to look up, in this case, the Nalaar Triumph with this. But I just have some basic lands, in this case only the Boros ones. I originally had a forest in there, but I swapped it out with a Boseiju because the first 3 matchups were rampant. Then after those, I think it was twice annual, I think. So yeah, fight me for that, I guess. But yeah, just being able to look up a land is pretty nice in the early game by being able to just not miss land drops. We are only playing 22, and then just having this late game really nice upside for only 1 mana, I think is valuable. And that's basically the 1 mana non-creature spells. Then we have Swiftspear as kind of a like more aggressive angle in the deck, which I think is a pretty cool thing to have access to, especially also in best of 3, where you really want to be a little bit more grindier, but also just having the option to go a little like under with more aggressive cards is good. And we have just so many prowess enablers for this 1 mana human. So yeah, just Swiftspear really nice. Also the haste is super good with a card like Invasion of Gobakhan, but of course just in general good in the deck. And then 2 copies of Skrelv. I don't want it to overextend on this like really powerful 1-drop, because it is legendary, and by being kind of forced to play the cards from the top of our library so often, I really wanted to minimize the amount of legendaries. But of course a really good card in general, and just also a very 1 mana artifact to have access to, because we want to have as many artifacts as possible. One reason for that is this card here. Now, the really nice thing about Yotia Declares War, I think, personally, is that you have just these three really good modes on just the 2 mana card. So this is kind of our removal spell in the main deck here. We have some more glass caskets now also basically kind of back from the old Eldraine in the sideboard here, from the new Wilds of Eldraine set, which are against like more aggressive creatures, and then also in combination nice with Yotia Declares War, because Yotia really cares about artifacts that already have done their thing ideally, and then you can still tap it for its ability. Whereas, for example, if you have a Research Desk or a Skrelv that you really need to tap, it's kind of like annoying because you can't use their ability for a turn. But yeah, just the food tokens, maybe even like the Pia tokens, the synthesizers are really nice tokens to tap, but it also creates a 0/2 colorless flying Thopter creature on its stage 1, and then additional Yotia Declares War copies can also help each other out, basically. Like in general, from the games that I was playing and also from playing the card in the past, I usually don't have problems being able to take the creature out that I want to take out. And then the third stage also good in a more like aggressive angle to be able to, let's say, also transform a food token or even a synthesizer, maybe just pump up a Thopter token from Pia into a 4/4, I think is super valuable. And they don't lose flying, I think. So just a really good like additional bonus by not also creating the artifact creature with flying notably, which is good with this card, which I come to in a second, but also just having a removal. A removal for 2 mana that does something else is great. And then why those two are kind of besties is Michiko's Reign of Truth. It both counts as an enchantment and artifact for this, which is really nice. Just being able to give a creature basically out of nowhere such a big buff is just a really good effect, and I think the card also therefore sees play in all the formats. Kind of reminds of Nettlesis too when it comes to its third stage, when it flips into Portrait of Michiko, where you basically just have this huge creature that gets +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment. That's basically really a payoff for having all of those food tokens or Pia tokens, because I was really thinking of how do you get like an extra like competitive payoff when it comes to Pia and Rocco, because we don't really have a lot of affinity cards or like affinity cards at all in the format. I think the only one is Plated Onslaught. Maybe there is more in Standard because I started out in Alchemy and this was the only one available post-rotation, but usually the other like kind of artifact like affinity cards are related to equipment. So this is, I think, one of the only one that works in that sense, and the other one might be Yotia Declares War, but maybe I'm also missing something. So you can also, of course, feel free to comment something in the comment section when it comes to that. But yeah, those were the ones that I was coming up with, and that just really work really well in the deck with just also being able to buff up flying creatures. Both the Yotia Declares War flying, top the token or the Pia tokens is just so good. Just having a creature with evasion, just being able to deal so much damage twice ideally, and then just also getting the creature is, I think, super good and definitely a payoff for the archetype, I think. And then our only other enchantment is 1 copy of Kumano Faces Carcassonne. I was definitely thinking of trying to get an artifact in that spot. I basically wanted to have another 1 mana card because I want to have as many like cheap cards as possible to just be able to really play everything. Like one of the things you really want is just to cast the Seek the Beast whenever you want, just to cast the Reckless Impulse or Ren's Resolve. I was playing Ren's Resolve because I started out in Alchemy first, and this is why the Reckless Impulse is here. And just to be able to cast everything, like you don't want to worry about, oh, can I cast this, can I not cast this, to have a bunch of 3-drops in the deck. That's really a reason why you want to have as many cheap cards as possible. And I really was looking for another good CMC 1-drop that works with Michiko's and ideally also Yotia's. It does not work with Yotia's, sadly, but I had basically the option between Rabbit Battery and Kumano, and what are you gonna do, not play Kumano? The thing is, why Rabbit Battery could actually be the pick, not only because it's just really nice with cards like this to give it haste, but it also is an artifact, and equipments are really nice with Yotia Declares War because again, they do their thing without having to tap them, and then you can tap them for Yotia's and still use its equip ability, for example. Because Kumano is only good with Swiftspear because this guy gets big by himself. Rocco is already reasonably statted and pumps up himself. Pia they want to remove in general right away, so even though the buff would be like okay, decent, like in general they want to remove her anyways, and then they have only more reasons. This becomes a forgery right away, and I usually want to tap it for its ability first anyways. The Skrelv having a buff is not so good, so like the only like actually really good thing which you usually think of when thinking of Kumano, I think in this deck, is the Swiftspear, because you think of like playing your CMC2 haste card and then just haste in right away with a 3-powered 2-mana creature on turn 2, which in general of course is really good, but we're not really doing that. So I think even though Kumano is one of the best 1 mana red cards to play, and of course makes sense in our deck since we want to enable prowess. We want to have cards to use Michiko with. Technically we can use it for bargain and stuff like that. Even though those are all reasons for it, it's just really not as close at its original power level, I think, than it is when it comes to those classic like mono red cards. But what are you gonna do, play Rabbit Battery over this? I wasn't sure about it, but I think you can also play the Battery. Okay, and then let's get to the kind of like new star of the show, the Questing Druid. I think one of the best adventure creature cards from the new Eldraine set. Its instant side, Seek the Beast, lets you look at the top, lets you exile the top 2 cards of your library and then play them until your next end step. So unfortunately, if you cast it in one of your like main phases or during your turn, you can only play them in the very same turn. But luckily this is an instant, so what you usually end up doing with the Questing Druid's adventure is that you just hold it up during the opponent's turn, and then you just have a kind of like similar, you just play the cards at your next turn kind of effect. So this is what you usually end up doing with the Questing Druid. Then what was the card name, like Quirion Druid? This is basically the effect of the creature side of this card. So also notably, adventures of course are nice with Rocco and Pia because you cast them from exile, and this exiling cards from the top of your library makes both sides for that reason just really nice in this deck, of course. But you also get this like, I don't know what the card name was, like Quirion Druid or something, which is just really good in this deck because you have barely any like green cards, and the only like other green cards is Brave the Wells and Rocco also counts as red and white, so you're just able to like buff this up like really fast actually in this deck, especially if you have both so many like cheap cards and so much card advantage to really ensure to not run out of cards and just continuously being able to buff up the Questing Druid, which is really nice. And you're not playing, since you're not playing either Alchemy or Historic, you also don't have to be, let's say, afraid of Orcish Bowmasters, which is nice. Otherwise, you probably would like to combine it with more of a like burn style effect and then just have some instant speed, like let's say red cards to be able to like in response play to still be able to play this in a Bowmaster meta, because otherwise this is already like kind of a struggle. But yeah, we don't have that here. And then the last card I think should be Invasion of Gobakhan, that I have not covered yet other than lands. This is just really nice in the deck for I think 3 main reasons. I mean, the first one just by it being a pretty nice card on its front side, right? 2 mana, exile thing, have this like elite spellbinder effect is nice. But the other really good thing about that, I think personally, is that you get to have a look at the opponent's hand. And if you are kind of like a more of an advanced player, I think you can really exploit this advantage by just having this information, because so often, I don't know if you know it, it really depends on what the opponents have in hand, whether you play ABC. So I think this really improves the quality of your gameplay and your chances to win, to have access to information about the opponent's hand, which I think is super underestimated. Like, so many games are coming down to what has the opponent in hand if you're playing like a little better maybe. So that actually for me personally is already like a big reason for Gobakhan. But of course the backside is super strong in this deck and also like rather easy to enable with both haste cards like Swiftspear and then also evasion plus haste cards like Pia, but just creatures in general, like rather easy to enable. And then of course super good when it comes to its power level. The Light Shield Array, just being able to put +1/+1 counters on each creature that has attacked each turn is super strong. And then just having also this Sacrifice It and creature, like all your creatures gain both hexproof and indestructible, is really good in this deck. And of course like kind of like a wombo combo with the hopefully many tokens from Pia and Nalaar, because all of those get buffed up. And then I said 3, the third I think a really nice upside with this is that it works on both sides with Rocco, because the card that gets exiled by the opponent, if the opponent plays it, counts as a trigger for Rocco, creating the food and the counter. And then if you flip the invasion, you also cast it from exile, so that triggers also Rocco and also triggers Pia. So I think 3 nice reasons for Invasion of Gobakhan here. Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, that Gobakhan is also an enchantment, so that's also nice for Michikos. And then lastly, this guy, This is really good. I think the Innistrad sets were generically powerful, and there was just a bunch of like random cards that people don't even know that they're good and that are kind of like underplayed, I think. And then I think this is one of the cards. You don't want to play this in Alchemy or Historic because of its 1 toughness, because of Bowmasters, but this is just a great card. Just think of it as kind of an adventure where the adventure side costs 0 mana essentially if you get to untap with it, because you just tap the card. You don't have to pay anything to get an additional card, and that's of course really good, I think. And then it also flips into a 4/3, 2 mana 4/3, draw a card, better in this deck, exile and play it from the top. It's just kind of phenomenal. And by the way, technically you also have the option to just not pick the card and not play it, and then you can just use it the next turn. Let's say you're looking for non-lands, you hit a land, and you have some time, you're both top decking, then this might be an option. But I think this card is just really nice, like definitely underplayed card, I think, from Innistrad, Crims, and WoW. And yeah. Then the mana is somewhat okay. I started out in Alchemy. Here at least you have some slow lands. I play 1 Thram Portal. You want to have as many untapped lands as possible in general when it comes to like low curve decks like this, and you don't really want to play slow lands, but it's standard. So what you're gonna do? Sorry, human things. I also have this like Restless Bivouac. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's an ox. It can attack and put counters on your stuff, which is nice. New manland, so it's tapped. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but I wanted to try the card at least as a one-off. And as I think also mentioned earlier when I cut it into the video, I had a forest originally that I swapped out with Boseiju because I had so many matchups where Boseiju was good in. And the only downside is, let's say you are at turn 4, you're only playing 22 lands, you're not super likely to always hit your 4th land drop, and let's say the card you really want to play in the spot is Rocco, and you have a Brave the Wilds and only 1 green source. You could go otherwise if you have a forest in deck, Brave the Wilds, get the forest, play the Rocco. Again, if you only have 1 green source in play, which you mathematically should, you don't have 18, then you can't do that, right? Because you don't have the forest. That was one of the scenarios, but I swapped the option of being able to make that scenario true with having access to draw Boseiju. Notably draw, because channel only works if you discard the card from hand, and since we exile so many cards from the top of our library, we don't really get to channel Boseiju that often, so I'm really not too sure about it. You can definitely also play a forest, I think. Okay, and then we have a bunch of sideboard cards. Those are kind of like removal spells. Glass Casket, just a classic, fine versus like soldiers or something like that. I guess, again, just having an artifact in play in this deck is in general good. I think I brought versus Ramp as a 4th copy, but you don't have to bring it. It's okay, I think. This removal spell also has like a similar upside than the before 3rd mentioned reason for a Gobakhan, by being able to trigger Rocco when they cast their thing, or you can also save your own things, and then you also get a trigger from either Pier or Rocco, which is nice. And Soul Petition, I think, is actually a rather underestimated removal spell, I think, when it comes to more like tempo-based decks like we have, because it's just 2 mana instant speed, exile anything, which is good, of course, like really good. The downside is that that they can just replay it. But if you play more of a tempo game, I think this card is actually pretty decent. And again, you have this like exile upside sometimes with two of your main theme creatures in the deck. Then you have both Nahiri's Warcrafting and Feral Encounter. Feral Encounter, new card from new set, Poggers. The good thing about Encounter is, of course, that it's 1 mana less than Warcrafting, and it has a similar effect, but we're not playing too many creatures, and the double green is really not that easy. But double red is also not so easy, so I'm not too sure about it. Also, that would be a reason to play a forest, I think, with that, by the way, but I haven't brought it. It's more of a consideration. As you see, we have 20 cards here. There's like a bunch of considerations, and just a couple of things that I actually have in there for sideboarding. So this is more of a consideration if you play a deck like this. But yeah, you get to also exile a creature card from the top 5 cards of your library and then play it, but only in the same turn at the beginning of the next combat phase, to be specific, I guess. And yeah, then you get to have one of your creatures deal damage equal to its power to another creature, which is just nice. It's of course better than fighting. It's only 2 mana, you get card advantage. Generically powerful card. Feral Encounter, Pog. But of course, downside is that you don't get the creature on turn 2 or 3 in general. Like you want to play this on turn 4 or 5 with, of course, also 4 or 5 lands ideally. Similar with Warcrafting, the upside of Warcrafting is that you get to play the card, so you can also just hit your land drop as soon as turn 4, although it's like similar, like it does not work sooner. This is just cheaper, so I think it should be better in general if you have enough creatures in your deck. But it looks at the top 5, it should be working out fine in general. And you of course need to have big enough creatures for this being able to remove stuff. Like taking out a Sheldred is not so easy with this, whereas with this, you know, it is. But then you don't get to draw anything or play anything, I guess. This guy, I think, does not make the cut because of its adventure side being too expensive. That's everything I have to say to the duelist, I think. Otherwise, of course, the 3 damage to any target would be really nice. Also, like burn spells in general in this deck would be nice, but I couldn't really find place for it, but I definitely was considering it. Another card that I was considering was the Pollen Shield Hare, or a rabbit of choice for the deck if you would play even more tokens. Like in the beginning I was experimenting with Baird because we have actually quite some ways to grow creatures, just another good 2 mana creature that creates tokens, and then you can play this like Imagine Pia plus this rabbit on a creature side even, and that's just being able to buff up all your creatures, or to ideally even double spell, triggering prowess. I guess not the druid because the adventure is green, but triggering prowess maybe, and just getting this like huge buff. But then just imagine the opponent plays like Cut Down or Go for the Throat on the thing you're targeting, and you don't only get the effect from the sorcery side, but you also lose the creature that gets target, and you lose the Pollen Shield here. I think this is how it works with adventure creatures when you remember like Brazen Boar or the Stomp from Bone Crusher Giant, right? So like targeting creatures is always like a dangerous thing, I think, in general. So that's something to keep in mind. And we actually don't have too many tokens, but this is definitely a cool card to consider for the deck when you have like Pia in mind. And adventure creatures are in general nice in this archetype, because if you play the adventure from exile, you get to trigger those. Then when it comes to creatures, another consideration could be the Steel Seeker. I even had this in the deck in the beginning because it's just so good. It's just one of the other rare payoffs by having artifact tokens either entering the battlefield. Basically, each time when a token or any artifact enters the battlefield, its ability triggers, where you get to reveal the top card from your library, and if it's a land card, you may put it into your hand, which is of course kind of insane when it comes to trying to find lands, but it gets better when you have like graveyard synergies, because you also get to put it into the graveyard if you don't want it. So you basically get to surveil, and I think that is kind of the reason why this card also sometimes sees play in older formats. Definitely just generically powerful and really a good consideration for the deck. Let's say you don't have a 4th rare for a Questing Druid or something like that. By the way, I think the deck is super budget. Like once you have like those and maybe like Gobakhan or something, you really just have to craft this card from the new set. The rest, I mean, you should have Skrelv by now, I guess. The rest is kind of just commons and uncommons, I think. Then when it comes to good commons, a new card again, Troublemaker Alfie, I don't know, has Bargain. So that would be your 4th bargain card after sideboard versus, let's say, Ramp or Anvil. So you are also more likely to get rid of this pesky synthesizer, but as I said earlier, you can also just get rid of by itself in the late game, and then you also have the upside by being able to get the token. But yeah, this is another way. I had the Haywire Mite originally in there, but you just get to keep the creature, which is super nice. And just imagine you have that food token, that kind of like free Pia token, that otherwise not so useful 0/0 Thopter token, and you just get to bargain with it. Of course, best one synthesizer. Yeah. Sometimes you just want to get rid of a desk. I think this comes up also in the games, but yeah, I think it's just a cool card. And in alchemy also kind of nice because it exiles the enchantment or artifact. Of course, I'm talking about the One Ring here. Hers just a good artifact for the sideboard. This is a real sideboard card. I can't think of cases where to use this against, but I guess it makes sense to have hers in the sideboard. Maria, super cool consideration, I think, but unfortunately she just got kind of scuffed, man, because she does not work with tokens. Unfortunately, she only works with non-token artifacts, but otherwise she would be kind of nuts, right? Just being able to use all those artifacts for mana and then to exile the top card of your library and play it would be such a synergistic nice card for the deck, and was actually kind of the original inspirations for building the deck in the first place, and also going into the Naya calls with Pia. But Rocco is such a good upside for Naya already together with Questing Druid, but otherwise we were mainly Boros, which is interesting. I guess we have some sideboard cards in green, but yeah. That is also kind of red-green themed, but not for us, more of the opponent. We have protection from red and green with this, and it also allows us to exile cards of the library and play it. Sword of Fortune Frontier, I think super nice in general, super nice actually in general. The problem is just its mana cost, right? In total 5 mana is just a little bit too much, and by the front side being on the 3 mana, if it would be the other way around, like maybe it really just is annoying in our deck with our exile from the top and having to play it. It's just a little bit too clunky and expensive, but it's interesting. I think the sword might be underestimated in general, but also just a consideration. The March and the Rob the Archives, like Brent, this is if you play more aggressive, I think this could be nice, but otherwise not really. Those are, I think, pretty interesting. This I think sometimes also sees play in the like explorer / like pioneer lists. Like the cool thing, similar with the Questing Druid, for this is being an instant, but you also get to choose 2 cards anyways, so it's like more selection, which is cool, I guess. But the thing I was worried about this card is if you get to exile with this or that, you're forced to play it on the next turn, and then it's bad, right? You want to play it at the opponent's turn, like you cannot wait another turn until the opponent and then cast it. That's why I was not including. That was one of the reasons why I was not including it, and we just don't have plays where we're not even playing all the impulses. We have Ren's Resolve, so interesting. But no, this though, we can just play it for 2 mana. We don't have to without casualty for 2 mana, so we don't have to like spend a lot of mana. So we can just go similar to this in our main phase on turn 4, turn 5, just use it for 2, and then in the late game it could get kind of like nasty. You only can choose like creatures, I think, yeah, with casualty. But let's say you have a Thopter token, you can draw so many cards in the mid to late game, which I think makes this card interesting, but I think just a little bit too situational. This is just probably more generically powerful and therefore better, but I think this card is also underestimated. Definitely something that didn't see too much play. So we're also gonna take it out, same as this one. And then lastly we have the Plated Onslaught, which I think is actually pretty nice in this deck because it is the only affinity card in standard, I think, for artifacts, but actually works quite nice again with Pia, and of course if you have already so many artifacts with anything else, to just being able to cast this for 3 or ideally more 2 mana at instant speed to just finish or close out the game, maybe hopefully with a bunch of like Pia tokens. So I think this is actually pretty cool, but you don't want to exile it from the top of your library again. And yeah, and since you're playing a bunch of like enchantments, by the way, Gobakhan is also an enchantment, You can also make use of this, like, let's say you really want to make sure to hit your land drops, you just want to play it safe, have an extra land in the deck, but it does something really good. I could consider playing a roadside reliquary, where you in general just should be able to at least hit one card, but often even two, because we have a bunch of enchantments. Okay, so far so good for the deck tech. Let's maybe take this out so we don't have this craft all. Yeah, it took a little bit longer. I have to see how much gameplay I can include. I played 5 matches with this basically in standard best of 3. I kind of like realized that the deck is kind of nice, and then something funny happened, so I didn't always like, I wasn't like playing to make a video, which I usually do. I was just trying the deck out, so sometimes it starts kind of in the middle or like rather at the start of the game, so don't be surprised about that. And yeah, but I think otherwise it performed pretty nicely in best of 3. I think you can also play it in best of 1, but then I would play, let's say, more glass caskets in the main, take out maybe a Michiko's, take maybe even out the Kumano, like a Gobakhan maybe. I wouldn't maybe play all 6 of those, and then just have some more like defensive tools in the deck, maybe one crafting 3 main deck caskets. I don't know how many aggro there would be in the format, but you also would have to worry about like Sheldred more, I guess. So yeah, for standard best of 1, I think this is also really nice. I tried it in the non-ladder, which was also pretty good, and yeah, I think pretty cool deck to start into the new season. It's also like, as I mentioned, rather affordable by only having those as rares, Gobakhan, Mite, and the Druid. So I think actually a cool deck. Maybe the lands can be expensive, but it's Naya, it's standard. Standard has been around for a while now, so I think most people have most lands anyways. All right, that's the deck tech. Catch you in the arena now, I guess, and have a good day. All right, hello, Commentary Peter here. I'm not sure if I have the time all the way through to be here, so in the end I might do some voiceover, but so here I basically realized that it maybe makes sense to hit the record button, because something funny happened. I was playing versus Ramp, and then Rocco exiled an Archangel which they couldn't play. Of course, we hit a playable, I think, and then we hit this Atraxa here, which is kind of, it's just actually a cool interaction, Rocco versus Ramp. And I think 2 or 3 from the first matchups were Ramp, so I guess it's still a rather popular deck type of choice in the standard best of 3 format. And here we exiled the Questing Druid, which we can still play next turn with, since the research desk allows for being able to do that. We have the choice between Stomper and Vorinclex, but Stomper is just a thing they can't play, and we're even able to take out even a 6/6 Vorinclex next turn with Yotia Declares War, I think. We have an additional, I think we can cast Questing Druid also from its adventure side. There is some interactions in the game where it does not work that way. But yeah, we can also attack face here. Since I already flipped their Gobakhan, we really just want to close out the game next turn. You can really see how big those cards get. The Questing Druid by itself just gets really big pretty fast. And yeah, the Rocco is also just good with that by just exiling cards from the top of the library, both with its own ability and with all the cards in the deck. The Leyland Binding should not work, because we also, besides indestructible, get hexproof when using the light shield array for that ability, and now we have lethal with our creatures. But we could have just kept going on, right? Because you can use the Seek the Beast ability of the Questing Druid, get more cards, get more food tokens. Again, we could have taken out the Vorinclex even, I think, so yeah. No, but that's just Yotia Declares War in this deck, just 2 mana, actually being able to take out Sheldred, taking out even bigger things like that with either Rocco or Pia is just really nice. And then also having, of course, the 4 extra damage text on it just makes it a really good CMC2 card. We don't really have another good 2 mana play, so just going for the Gobakhan now. Binding in response. Takes the Binding, which is sorry, the battle, which is kind of interesting. Then we get rid of one of the Sunfalls here, but they have two of them, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we just have so many like non-creature spells to work with, so it's not so devastating where how it can be basically versus creature decks, for example. So here we had the option of playing it safe with Brave the Wilds into land and then just playing the fast land, I think it was, and holding up Seek the Beast. But this has the upside of just setting up for the bargain for next turn with the Troublemaker Ophi, still don't know how to pronounce this, and we had pretty good things to hit with the Synthesizer. Land would have been fine, 2-drop would have been fine, 1-drop also in this case fine, because we had the Brave the Wilds here in hand. Now you could bargain here, but then you wouldn't get the card with the Synthesizer, and of course we want to have it as a bargain target next turn or this turn anyways with the Troublemaker, which we do before playing the land, because we could hit a land with the Synthesizer. And that's just a reason why we are playing so low curve, by the way, right? We can't just afford to play the Synthesizer that turn, which was really useful last turn, and just have only playables other than Rocco, but it's only a 2-off, so it's fine. And actually hitting the desk is really nice in this case, because with the second desk and the double prowess trigger, therefore we pump our Swiftspear up to 3 power, and therefore it's able to take out the invasion here. And now we have the Light Shield Array, which triggers with a counter right away, which is of course nice. They only have 5 lands, so they only get to 6 here. They can't yet block with the Stomper, which is nice. Kumano flips. Visionary is interesting. We could just play it safe, hold up, Seek the Beast on their turn, but we haven't played our land yet. It would be really nice to hit land and a playable. Rent's Resolve is okay. We want a land now to play the desk, but we don't. Okay, it's not that bad. Like, we can still play the both cards exiled with Rent's Resolve next turn and only lose the desk essentially. Get to buff up the entire team with the array, which is super nice. Sunfall is enabled now. They have 4+3 mana, can attack with their elemental first though. But they're a dream, man. Like, we have Pia and Swiftspear and the Druid, so we can start with Pia and then create 2 Thopter tokens, and Swiftspear has also haste, which... but it only works if you draw the land here, so drawing the land which was necessary for having lethal here. So that was kind of lucky, I guess. But yeah, playing the Druid first to get a counter on it, but doesn't matter in this case. You can't just swing. But yeah, we even had more gas and stuff like that. The problem with it would have just been Atraxa. Would they have been able to cast it? Probably. I'm not too sure though. So that was kind of lucky, but that's just what the deck is doing anyways. Okay, here we're up against Ramp, I think, again. Also starting kind of... not in the middle, but at least not in the beginning. So here, I probably should have... No, I mean, this makes 1 more damage, so it's fine. I could have just gone Brave the Wilds first, I think, for... No, I couldn't, because I had needed to spend the green-red land for the Brave the Wilds. So, because I want to have a little bit more of a mana spread, but it's okay. I don't really need more green or white as is with this hand right now, at least. So 1 green, 1 white should be okay. And this way we're able to play the Swiftspear right away. Could have bargained again, but Kumano is a 2/2 already. We can use our lands so early in the game, so yeah. Okay, 2-drop is fine. That triggers prowess. Would have been okay just playing the Visionary, but nah, we just used the Gobakhan. Of course, the opponent is mana screwed, which just makes this not into a real game actually, so maybe I should just skip it, but if you want we can stick through it. But yeah, Herd Migration, interesting that they didn't play that, because that gives them the land. Well, maybe it wasn't that kind of greedy, I don't know. I guess they saw 2 Swiftspears and a Kumano, so they were thinking we need to save some life, so you have to respect that too, I guess. Here I make a misplay, I think. I should have given Kumano protection from blue, because then we can... They could still jump the Kumano, but then we can... Then I hit the invasion with one of the Swiftspears, so we could have brought the invasion to 2 here. Which is relevant now, because now we can... I'm gonna play the synthesizer first, of course. Because now we can give the Kumano again the protection from blue, not one of the Swiftspears, because those have 3 or even 4 toughness anyways against the shark. And now I can take out the Kumano, but the Kumano, if I would have done it last turn as well, could have gone face, right? Then 2 of the Swiftspears attack the invasion, we flip it. If they block one of the Kumanos, it doesn't matter, and this way they don't have to block anything. So we basically missed 2 damage, essentially, I think. And that's one of the reasons why you take the binding there and not the Herd Migration, because you can then use the Skrelv for stuff like that. So that was definitely a misplay on my part, I think, missing out on 2 damage here. Otherwise you just take the Herd Migration, which might be the better pick anyways when you have, or is the better pick anyways when you have the active Skrelv. Okay, so we want to activate this first. Now it's appealing to go Pia into Thopter, but the Thopter can't attack. And we have a Mishra's research desk, which I probably want to use, but not for green, because I only have this untapped green. And then just see what we hit first. Do we have to reveal the cards? I'm not sure, but I think it's still worth going for it. Okay, because we could hit a 1-drop or a good 2-drop is what I wanted to say. We hit both. So we have the option of going Pia into 1-drop into land, getting to make the dudes right away. But Yotia is of course pretty cool in general as a removal spell here. Notably, though, we have only 2 artifacts as of right now in play, and Skrelv and Synthesizer, and we also don't really want to tap the Skrelv, and there is a Leyline Binding on the other side. So I think what we have to do is attack first, because if they do block with the shark, we can just take it out of Yotia's, and if they don't block, we can play Pia. Pia first, because this lets us create a Thopter this turn with the land, and the next turn, since we exiled the Yotia's with the Mishra's research desk there, so we can play Yotia's next turn, we also get to create a Thopter. And then let's say we can do the research desk again for Unearth, or maybe correct the Synthesizer, or even use the Skrelv, which we probably don't want to do because of the Leyline Binding, but next turn we can deal 4 damage to the Chrome Host Sea Shark with the Yotia Declares War on chapter 2 then right away. But they're going for the block, so we just play Yotia's here right away. Otherwise, as I described, I would have gone for Pia this turn to have enough Thopters or enough artifacts. But of course, the Vermana's Crude. I think it is just interesting to maybe walk you through the thoughts and the decision processes. To be able to pilot the deck maybe a little bit better. Now we can choose the artifact, make it into a 4/4. Again, another really strong effect from Yotia Declares War. They have Leyline Binding up, but we have Skrelv. Okay, so we attack with all our creatures. They block a 4-power creatures for 8 plus 4, 1, 4, 4, so 16. So if they have an Iganja with Skrelv does not protect for, we needed to play the Swiftspear because then we hit for 14. Yeah, we hit for 4 damage less, and then we need 1 damage more with the Swiftspear here. So we really want to play that as well, and the opponent just concedes. But yeah, I don't know if they would have had Iganja or not, but you definitely want to play the Swiftspear to ensure the lethal. It was 16 and then 4 less because Iganja could have taken out another 4-power creature, so it would have been 12 damage and they were on 13. Okay, just a cycle here. Demand land online. Gobakhan has a look. As I also mentioned earlier, it looks so valuable, and this is so greedy, man. What are you doing? Again, no lands in the main land deck. This is also like an awkward spot, of course, for Gobakhan. I think the question you have to ask yourself here is, how do we lose? And what is if they draw a land? So if they draw the land, what's the scariest cards? Is it Archangel, which they have 2 copies of? It's probably Sunfall, right? Because this is how we can maybe lose. Otherwise, taking the CMC2 card, of course, makes sense in general. Notably, I'm not sure if they draw a card, though. I think this is also something I was counting. So I have 5 cards. They, let's say, draw a land. Then I had enough, I think. Then I had 4 cards left, so they would have actually drawn a card. So if they draw a land, that would have been a nice reason to choose the CMC2 card otherwise. But as I said before, how do we lose? Maybe to Sunfall, so I might as well take the Sunfall on the... I don't know the English word. On the off chance, I don't know, that they draw the land, which they did. Okay, so I'm tapping white here manually to drain muscle memory. Basically, I don't have to hold up green here, but that's something that can really happen with Haywire Mite, in particular in Alchemy, because in Standard it's not as good. It's still good, I think. I took it out though, because it has 1 less toughness, it gains 1 less life. It's still fine though. But the Orphe also leaves behind a creature. It can get rid of creature artifacts and enchantments, so yeah. But you really want to make sure to hold up green mana with the Mite. That can definitely happen by auto-tapper. Get to look at the top 2 here. Yeah, it's nice. Now, here I think I'm misplaying, because it's appealing to play Pia right away, right? Getting the Thopter, because they have Leyline Binding activated. They have 4 domain, so the Leyline Binding in hand is active. I can still make the top Thopter right away, but probably what I should have done is play, before I play any of those, first to play the Troublemaker, right? Bargain the Fur token, get the Rocco. Now, sure, they get priority when I put, like, there goes a trigger on stack when I cast the Pia on Rocco, but Rocco gets to put a counter on the Orphe and gets to create another food. And then they probably remove the Rocco, and then we still get to play, then the Pia resolves on the stack, and then we still get to play the land. So we would have also had the Thopter in play, that is able to attack down the invasion a little bit, but the Orphe notably would have had the counter, and we would have had another food token, which is relevant now because of Yotia Declares War. Like, we want to take out the Archangel, so definitely a misplay on my part, I think. And now it's about to create artifacts, so I want to Ren's Resolve. Here the question I think I'm asking myself is to play Swiftspear or not. Basically have to do the math, like how likely is it to hit a 1-drop? Do I need to hit a 1-drop? Can I also hit a 2-drop? I think I can't. or I can't with playing Swiftspear. I'm not looking for the auto tapper here. I should tap a Celestia land and a red, because I can still play all the non-red things if I do that, and this way it actually happens that I had 2 red cards, so now I can't play 3 things, only 2. So another misplay in my part. So many things you have to look out for. But it was one of the first games I was playing with the deck. I can make 2 Thopters, but next turn I'm one artifact short. Wouldn't have been if I would have used the Alfie first last turn, I guess. So we have to either crack Mishra's research desk, be lucky to hit either an artifact or another cheaper exile from the top of a library card, or go for the Jodia's on stage 1 and wait a turn. I still want to attack with most of my things here. I also consider to attack with Pia, because we just keep growing the creatures with the flipped invasion. So 2 2-power creatures at the invasion, and if Pia attacks, she should go at invasion, not at face, because it makes it a really free block for the Archangel, and then the next best thing should go face, so that they may be inclined to block that, because they can't protect the invasion anyway, so they don't want to block creatures that attack the invasion unless every creature is blocking it, or a really valuable one, but between 2/2 and 1/1 it's not such a big difference. Oh yeah, we get a top the token from Light Shield Array. That's always easy to forget. So next turn we can take out the Angel, but since we have flipped into Light Shield Array, this is kind of a, it's not hefty, but kind of a price to pay, because those all don't get to deal damage, but more importantly, they don't get to grow. So I'm considering whether I should attack all or not, but it's probably still better to take out the Angel. Leyline Binding. Yeah, they do target the array, which is so weird, because we can obviously use it in response, and now I have really kind of a free attack for all onto the next invasion also, because everything also is indestructible. So I could play Jodi's on 1, just grow the team and ignore the Angel. Another Angel we can take. But I'm also not, I wasn't sure about it. You can play it safe. You can just remove the Angel right away. You can grow the team. I think if you remove the Angel right away, you're just playing it safe. Like, how are you going to lose is the question you have to ask yourself. But I think it both is just really fine. There's not too much that can happen if the Angel stays around, but it's kind of a safe play, I guess. The better line was probably just to attack all. The next thing that you have to keep in mind, I guess I could have just double attacked with the Swiftspears onto the Gobakhan. Yeah, I'm not sure. So we have the Mishras, well, of course we have a big board, and the research desk in the graveyard. Another Angel, that's a new one they drew. They drew drawing all the Angels or what? And the Manland. So we have 6 mana, I think. So research desk to unearth and activate costs 3. So if you find our 7th mana, we have 4 mana left and can still use the Manland, which is something to keep in mind. And when you use the desk, always make sure you have the right colors available. Don't just randomly unearth and use it. In this case it didn't matter, but just something general. At this point I think, again, I was not too sure about whether to be able, I was able to use the Seek the Beast from exile or not. I think you are, so that might be better here, but again, this way you can also attack with the Manland. The thing is, we're just attacking for so much damage, and the creatures just keep growing each turn that they just need a board wipe, I think, from this point to win. And then we want to keep the Manland, right, to be able to cross the finish line. So here I basically have to make like a bait to put like a counter on Kumano, or to crack the light shield array to protect the manland if I want to take the land from exile and be able to attack with the manland, and to create another Thopter, notably because the land triggered a Thopter that also grows here that we played from exile. They're not on 0, they're on 3. And yeah, because we would have saved the Seek the Beast for next turn, right? I guess for the turn on the opponent to use the cards on the next turn. But yeah, now they, even if they, like, this is like super safe, I guess, because let's say they have an untapped land. I guess Binding says non-land, so it can take out the manland. Maybe like Elspeth's Smite is their only out. If they had untapped Sunfall, untapped White Land, and Elspeth's Smite, they could have taken out the land, but this way we also had hexproof for the land with the array, so I guess it was super safe this way if we bait with the Kumano. Nice. Okay, so another Trine player, probably not the Mirror, probably not Naya Enchantments. Esper Trine. What archetype could it be? Okay, so Yotia is not great, Swiftspear not great, so let's just play our CMC2 creature. That we don't want to, like, if you only have one Pia in hand, to just nakedly play here, but what am I gonna do? Not play it? Can just attack first. Rocco in general a little bit better, especially against ramp, because you have the chance to hit more expensive things they can't play. Oh, and hitting that though, kind of convenient, so that can be definitely a downside of Rocco, but it's so unlikely, right? To hit a really good card, but it can happen. That being said, Synthesizer is also nice, gives us another trigger from both of the creatures now. Now I could play Swiftspear first, but I want to play the Skrelv, and if I hit a CMC2 card, then I, like this here, that I can't also play the Skrelv. So I want to play Rand's Resolve first, to maybe play also a white untapped land for the turn. I really want to play the card that I exiled with the Rocco, the Skrelv here, though. Don't hit the land, so I'm just gonna play untapped white Skrelv. Can still play the other exiled cards next turn. Have already quite a board state. If they board wipe, it's not the end of the world, of course it's good, and of course that's probably what they have to do here in order to have a chance. Board wipe of choice is Wandering Emperor. This is also a new card. The cool thing about this here is that it draws a card on EDB, which is nice, right? And then each time they cast one of the fairies, which is pretty cool. Okay, so obviously I want a Gobakhan. I still didn't know, can you use the adventure or not, but I also want to apply, I want to create a board state, so I probably want to cast the Druid on the creature side anyways. So I'm going to start with that before casting anything else. Then just probably Gobakhan and the other 1 mana card from exile. See if there's something expensive to tax. Not here. They don't have anything great to get back with Cosmic Rebirth, which is a cool card. Just gonna take the shard here though. Colorless, not triggering the Druid, but we get to take out their powerful 6 mana Planeswalker. Or I. Not sure if I should say we or I. I don't care, so I say we. We have quite some artifacts in play for Yotias to be able to get rid of this pesky Seat Manufactory. This card is also new, Poggies. Oh, you get to choose 2. So it kind of reminds on like the learn card from standard, that ramp, or escape the... What was it? Escape the wilds? Settle the wilds? Something like that, the alchemy one. Escape is escape from Eldraine, but I think it's settle the wilds or something like that. Now when I remove the shark, of course. Oh wait, 3 plus 5 plus 1. 5 plus 4. Looks like 9 to me, baby. If you didn't have lethal, I probably wouldn't even play the Showdown Pass from land. I can hold up a food token to crack it with the untapped land from exile, but I would just want to use the research desk anyways, and then just get the man land down, have Boseiju up for their token next turn, but yeah, just have lethal here. Also, we could take out the Invasion of Gobakhan, yeah. Right into the next match. I'm just not doing the sideboarding because it just takes away time and there's not too much happening anyways. Of course, I'm bringing some of the Ophies, Troublemaker, whatever. And what else? I think I brought the 4th Gobakhan and Enchantment Hate. So I had one Haywire Mite and yeah, one Orphe, one Haywire Mite and one Gobakhan, and then take out a Michikos maybe. I wasn't sure what the current state of the main list was, but it's nothing crazy. Can't quite curve here. Here I'm kind of attacking phase because they have Eiganjo, which they don't use, notably, by the way. Play the land first to don't pay life. Because they have Lauren there, and Lauren, it's just such a free play for them next turn to cast Lauren to get rid of the Invasion of Gobakhan. And this way we also have one additional creature in play to maybe flip it the next turn, the Invasion, to get a counter on it right away. And notably because of the creature being Pia, the second one there, we also get to create a Thopter right away. Shigeki is kind of annoying because it gives Gobakhan... It enables Gobakhan, so we want to remove the Shigeki here. Otherwise it would have been nice to flip the Gobakhan first, create a Thopter token, bargain the Shigeki with the Thopter token, and then still hold up Seek the Beast to be both mana efficient and of course playing better cards, and also not putting the desk in the deck, but of course that would not have worked since they have had an active Eiganjo. I could not have attacked first. Then they remove the Pia, I don't get the token, I don't get the bargain, they keep the Shigeki. I guess I could have still bargained with the desk, but it would have been still worse. Shigeki enchantment creature, that's why it worked, because in case you didn't know. But yeah, we also but yeah, we still got the counters in the token, as I mentioned. Here we have the option to hold Seek the Beast and use Gobakhan, or maybe to go more aggressive with Michiko. But notably we don't have too many artifacts and or enchantments right now in play, so we're probably just gonna have a look and... Okay, opponent had enough. Probably wanted to keep that card. But yeah, of course it was also just quite some damage. Being able to pump up the team continuously, make another token by flipping the battle, and then also having Seek the Beast up is pretty good, man. Just so much draw and explosiveness. Just a good deck, I think. Okay, different colors, Poggies. Oh yeah, this is what was one of my keeps. You shouldn't keep this, you should mulligan, but I just hate mulligans. And that's just a meat keep. You shouldn't keep this probably. I mean, the idea behind this is that mathematically this is just so unlikely, and I didn't build this deck this way for no reason, right? So it's so unlikely just to not both draw a red source or playables. Like, we have so many playables that are not red, we have so many red lands, which mathematically this just shouldn't happen. Now here we want to be mana efficient if possible, so I'm just gonna play Swiftspear into Michiko's. Oh yeah, by the way, this is game 2. Oh, that was so annoying because I didn't record game 1 either. Again, I wasn't really planning on making a video, so I kind of forgot there again. So what was happening basically was that I swung for 8 in the air with a Thopter with Michiko's and Pia. So I think their board state was Flesh Gorger and Corpse Appraiser, and they were tapped out. And I had a flipped the guy who exiles a card from the top and becomes a forgery. I had that in an active Skrelv, so I could give it protection from black for Skrelv, and they were on 13, I think, alive, something like that. I could give him protection. Orb is pretty nice here, by the way, with the Forge and all. I could have given protection from black swing for 4 plus 8, and then like 1 or 2 Thopters additionally. So it was 14, I think I swung for. They were on 13, and then it was minus 13, which was pretty funny because imagine you have like a Flesh Gorger with lifelink and Corpse Appraiser, and you face like a couple of Thopters, Pia, and the Forgery, and like a mere Skrelv, and you're on 13. You're kind of chilling, right? And then like out of nowhere, it's just over. So I'm gonna pick the one mana card, I think, even though I need more red for that. Technically, unless I want to play the Druid next turn. But yeah, buffing up the Skrelv was necessary here, I guess, so that the ping from the devil doesn't take it out. And I'm running out of time, I have to go soon. I think I have to do the last game, or the last match rather. Or voiceover maybe, or just show the match, I guess. But yeah, this is pretty okay, just being able to get rid of the ops. I knew that happened, but yeah, this would have looked okay. But that's not so okay. I can't even like discard any of those creatures in hand, right, because of the Forge. And if that's the case, and since I'm on 3 land, kinda can't continue here. So we're going into match 3 versus EJC 890, and we're gonna see how it goes with Grixis Sacrifice. Is this Anvil? This is a weird choice, right? What's the blue for? Surely not just Corpse Appraiser, like. What's the blue for, man? Alright, so don't want this to be removed. I sometimes hover my hand to be like, hey, I have good things to consider for next turn that you want to take out, so don't take this out, because this is a card that's not being played, so surely there's no reason to remove it right away, right? I don't know if this had an influence or not, but either way, we get to untap with it, and we get to have value. Of course, I want to play Pier here, preferably, before I play the Brushland, then I can either Mishra's Research Desk or Brave the Wilds, but I want to Brave the Wilds with a token, and I want to attack first with the token. I could Brave here, but I don't really need the land. I just want to make sure to hit good cards from, good non-land cards from the top, so Desk makes sense. Second Harvester helps the first one to reach the tree. Either one of the 3 CMC2 3 toughness creatures here, or the Strangle, I guess, to take out both of them. But yeah, that's the upside for being a grindy deck. Now we can just go through the deck a little bit here and don't find anything other grindy. So land's actually not that bad. I could go Pia, land, Gobakhan, right? There's even a non-pain white land. But I have a land in hand. Brave the Wilds gets a land if I take the 1-drop here. So I can see both. If I know that there's a Ren's Resolve on top, I think I might take the land there so that I can go Gobakhan, since you want to go Gobakhan in a spot like this, I guess. But since they didn't make the land, did they make the land drop or not? Did we lose or win last game? I lost it. So we're on the play. so I guess it's okay. I was just thinking if they missed the land drop or not. So I think this is okay. You want to attack first though, because now I want to bargain probably. Bargain animation, puggies. Just thinking which land, probably the one I have two of. Now it's kind of like annoying, you could say, because if I attack with the land I can use it for mana, but you can just still use it for mana. We're not only a tempo deck, I think we're in a kind of like tempo slot here, so it's okay to use the land. You're getting a new land, you don't probably need more than 4 or 5 anyways, so I think, isn't this just not really good for 1 mana? I don't know. I'm a fan of Brave the Wilds. Don't hate on me. Okay, and now we can Gobakhan, probably Ren's Resolve first. I mean, Blood Token activation, of course, good for us. And a new card, Electra's Vault. This is so weird because it doesn't really do anything, so why would they play it in their little diamond rank? I mean, it's kind of nice to play new cards, but I guess it makes sense to create treasures and more of a like sacrifice deck. Maybe they're playing like Anvil, and it kind of reminds on Fable, right? To Rummage, and is it Loot or Rummage in this case? I don't know, but it'd be kind of like Fable and then create the treasure, but not too sure. There's no like affinity payoff, right? Because it's an artifact and it creates more artifacts. If that's the then it would be maybe okay, but yeah. I want to Gobakhan here, of course, but since they didn't make their 4th land drop, I'm just playing the creature with the commando counter here. Also better to get the Visionary down as soon as possible. Could have played the next turn because of Ren's Resolve's ability, but now we can either deal damage because they're in 10 and they just didn't have anything apparently. Okay, well, that worked out, I guess. And now I run kind of out of time as predicted. So I'm gonna switch to a voiceover now, I think. Y'all beautiful people. And then we're gonna... Oh yeah, this was so weird. I can say this, I guess. This is the game 2. I drew like, I don't know, what was it, 5, 6 lands in a row? With my 22 land deck poggies, and then also some Brave the Wilds, of course. So this is just the sad last moments of our game 2 here. Game 1 was like super unspectacular, I think, so I didn't include it as well. But yeah, we're gonna see ourselves in the game 3, I think, in the voiceover. Have a nice day. Sorry I'm not uploading too much on this channel right now because it's just a hobby. I have other things going on, but here and there I might pop up, maybe even soon. So, see you guys. Ciao. Alright, good evening or good morning, whatever, boys, I'm back. One of my colleagues had like a little birthday party, and so I couldn't quite make it as soon as I wanted, but here I am to cover this like last bit with some voiceover. That plan, well, that's not ideal for them, I suppose, but that's the slow land vibe that you have to go through, I guess, sometimes in standard. We can curve here, which is always decent in general on the play, but Rocco also nice versus like Anvil with the food tokens too, which is not always the case. Right, let's say you're up against control, mid-range, ramp. I guess even in mid-range versus sheltered decks, the food is nice, meaning the life gain. But versus like ramp, it's more relevant, I guess, to have the artifacts. But here you can actually really make use of the life gain, I think, of the food tokens. So they didn't play the anvil, but curved out with orb. And now we are interested, of course, in taking out or I guess those two, however you want to feud, planeswalkers. We get to protect the Skrelv here by playing the card from exile. And now I want to basically take out the token, I think, to attack down the planeswalkers. There's also, I mean, I could target an orb, of course, I think, with Jodias, but this way I get to keep up both Skrelv and Mishra's research desk by only tapping the food. Now we can, doesn't really matter who we attack here. Take out both here. And again, both hold up Skrelv and the research desk. To have a look at the additional card. That's the cool thing about Rocco, because do they really want to play this? Do they really want to play this Epicure? Like, not are they only forced to kind of play it? Like in our deck it really works well in general, right? Because we have so many like cheap cards. We can really just, I built the deck so you can really just jam everything and yeah, the opponent just concedes for some reason. I mean, not too sure. I mean, we had the Ophi to get rid of the Envoy, but we didn't really have too much gas as of right now. I guess we had the research desk. That's the cool thing about card selection, I guess, in positions like this or in general. And we could unearth it, I guess, if we would really flood. But we have played 22 lands, so we shouldn't flood too much. Alright, so that was that, actually. I just couldn't quite make it yesterday. I had to go to work. So, yeah, but that's all the games I was playing with the deck right after the release of the new set, Wilds of Eldraine. I think it's a cool set. It's not overpowered. You can't, for example, compare it to its predecessor. But yeah, that's that. I really like the deck. It's cool, I think. It's not too expensive, I think. And that's about that. Have a nice day.